Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I just want to let everyone know that this is the first case we're going to be discussing that was submitted through my suggestions form. If you have a case that you'd like me to look into or see a video on, please feel free to fill out my suggestion form. It's just a short form and it's completely anonymous. I'd love some suggestions on cases to look into, so I'll go ahead and put the link in the description and I'm going to pin it in the comments just in case you missed that. Anyway, today we're going to be discussing the unsolved murder of Terri, aka Missy Bevers. Before we get started, do me a favor and subscribe. It's free, it only takes a second, and it really helps me continue to do these videos. Also, be sure to click the notification bell to keep up with all of my future uploads. Alright, let's get back to it. Missy was born to James and Norma Strickland on August 9th, 1970. She was the middle child and had two brothers named Clifford and Clint, and they grew up in northern Texas. Missy attended Jacksboro High School in 1988 and then attended several colleges before graduating from Tarleton State University with a bachelor's degree. She was indecisive and unsure of what she wanted her career to be, and ultimately she ended up working a few retail jobs, and that's where Missy met a man by the name of Brandon Bevers, and they dated for a while before getting married on June 20th, 1998. Once she and Brandon married, they settled into their new life, and Missy decided that she really needed to do more with her new life. She was seeking something that would be fulfilling, and she decided to return to school and get her teaching certificate. And she actually ended up getting a certificate in special education. She absolutely loved helping people, and teaching seemed to be the perfect career for her. Things were going great for the Bevers. They were happy, in love, and they welcomed their first daughter into the world in 2001. Once Missy became a mother, she felt as if her job was to stay at home with the new baby. She just wanted to be a mom. She left her teaching job behind, and she and Brandon welcomed two more daughters, one in 2003 and another in 2007. Their family of five was thriving. They were living in Red Oak, Texas, and they seemingly had a normal life. Missy had developed a passion for health and fitness. She actually began working as a fitness trainer for Camp Gladiators. Camp Gladiators is basically a huge fitness program that primarily takes place in churches, parking lots, parks, etc., rather than a gym. It's kind of like the Zumba craze that's popular in churches, if any of you are familiar with that. She loved helping people change their mindset and live their best life. She wanted to influence as many people as she could, and because of this, she built a larger social media platform than your average 45-year-old would have. Because she wanted her business to grow, she would often leave her social media posts completely public. She had recently been hosting Camp Gladiators at a church in Midlothian, Texas, named Creekside Church of Christ. The classes took place very early, typically around 5 in the morning. So Missy would typically arrive 30 to 45 minutes early to set everything up. On April 17th, 2016, Missy checked the weather report and realized rain was being predicted for the following day. She had a class planned that morning, and because they normally took place outdoors, she took to social media to let her class know that they would still be working out the next day. She posted on Facebook, "If it's raining, we're still training. You are gladiators. No excuses." And she did this just to encourage everyone to still attend the class. She later made a post that evening that she was going to go to bed because she had to wake up at 3:30 in the morning. As far as I know, both of those posts were made public. On the morning of April 18th, 2016, Missy woke up around 3:30 a.m. and she began preparing for her day. Brandon was actually in Mississippi for his annual fishing trip with his brother, so she was headed out the door to start her 20-minute drive to Creekside Church, leaving her three daughters asleep in their beds. The two older girls were old enough to stay at home alone, but Missy intended to be back in time to wake them up for school. She arrived at the church around 4:15 a.m. She sat in her vehicle for a few minutes and then entered the church about 5 minutes later at 4:20 a.m. She had several items to bring into the church, and it was evident that she intended to come back before setting up the class. Little did Missy know know, something sinister was waiting for her inside that church. Almost 30 minutes before Missy had arrived, so around 3:50 in the morning, someone had used a pry bar to smash out a window in the side door to the church. They were dressed head to toe in fake tactical gear, including SWAT gear. The person was wearing a black helmet and a vest that said the word police on the back. Luckily, Creekside had surveillance cameras set up inside the church, and they actually caught the suspect on video several times. The demeanor of this person is very odd. They walk with quite a unique limp, which is something you don't see every day. He or she walked very slowly, almost as if they didn't have a single care in the world. They began breaking a few windows, checking to see if doors were locked, and just randomly opening ones that weren't. At one point, they lazily tried to pry a door open without success. They never actually entered any rooms though. They primarily just poked around in the hallways, casually breaking things, as if they were setting a stage to appear as if they were vandals. At one point, they were seen swinging a hammer forcefully just out of the camera's view. I'm going to insert the clip, but I'm warning you, it has a very creepy and eerie vibe. What the f***? The perpetrator walked around aimlessly for about 30 minutes before Missy finally arrived. When she got there, things get pretty confusing. It's unknown if any of her murder was caught on video, as the police have not released that information. When she entered the church around 4:20 a.m., she stumbled across this person and it obviously went very wrong. One of Missy's students arrived at the church a little early, around 4:35, but they did not see or hear anything happening. Around 5 a.m., one of Missy's students entered the church and stumbled upon a very gruesome scene. She immediately called 911. The student described Missy and claimed that she was bloody and unconscious. EMTs were immediately dispatched to the scene. When they arrived, they noticed a ton of broken glass right before finding Missy's deceased body on the floor. She was pronounced dead at the scene, and police were dispatched within minutes of EMTs arriving. They stated that it appeared Missy had really struggled with her attacker. She fought back. Meanwhile, Missy's 3 young daughters were still at home alone. They were going to be waking up for school soon, so police notified Brandon and Missy's in-laws right away. They went to her house to care for her daughters. When they arrived, the girls were still sleeping soundly in their bed, undisturbed. The family were forced to tell the girls that their mother had passed. The police immediately began collecting evidence and had launched a full-on investigation. Police were quick to release the video surveillance as soon as they possibly could. Because the person had such a unique walk, they had high hopes that someone would see it and recognize the person, despite them being completely covered in tactical gear. They also released footage from a store called SWFA. SWFA was a sporting goods store that was about a mile away from Creekside Church. Their surveillance showed a light-colored Nissan Altima pulling into their parking lot around 1:58 a.m. The vehicle had an oval symbol, possibly a sticker, on the backside of the bumper. However, police were not able to make out what the sticker looked like. Again, it's a very odd video clip. The car pulls into the lot and immediately shuts off their headlights. They drive around the parking lot with their headlights off, park in a space, sit for several minutes in the dark before pulling out of the spot, flashing their lights, and then turning their lights on and exiting the parking lot at 2:04 a.m. Here's the clip. I found that clip on SWFA's YouTube channel. The whole thing is a little long, so I clipped it and sped it up a bit, but I'm gonna put the link to the original video in the description box below. You guys should definitely check it out for yourselves. The police do not believe that this person is connected with Missy's murder, but they would like to question them to see if they noticed anything weird that morning. To this day, no one has came forward to speak to police. Investigators have been very tight-lipped on whether or not the murder weapon was found at the scene. In the video, we see the suspect swinging a hammer, but that doesn't necessarily mean that was the murder weapon. The police later searched Missy's vehicle and discovered that her iPad and other electronics, credit cards, and other personal information was left behind. Police initially believed the suspect was a male, and they actually released a statement referring to the perp as a him. However, they quickly changed their tune. Once they reviewed the footage further, they were unsure that Missy's killer was a man. However, they weren't sure that it was a woman either. They said that the gear made it nearly impossible to determine if the person was a man or a woman, and they believed that their movements and body language possibly indicated that they were feminine. They also said that because of the unique walk, the killer may have had an injury to the right leg or foot. Investigators say that they believe theft was not a motive because there was nothing missing from the church or Missy's vehicle, and her body was found with her wedding ring still on her finger. The Midlothian PD felt they were in over their head, and they decided to call in the FBI as well as the Texas Rangers. Both the FBI and the Texas Rangers began working the case very quickly. The FBI actually brought in a special dog that was able to detect gunshot residue. However, what they found is still unknown as far as I know. Evidence seemingly pointed to the perp breaking into the church for a calculated reason, most likely to attack someone. However, the police weren't sure as to who. They were trying to determine if Missy was specifically targeted or if it was just a random killing, which was no easy task. In most cases, police start by trying to rule out who's closest to the victim. They immediately began looking into Missy's life and into her marriage with Brandon. By this point, Brandon had rushed back from Mississippi and was being very cooperative with police and the media. Police gathered information from Missy's phone, as well as phones from a lot of her family. Police later stated that text messages proved that Brandon and Missy were having financial difficulties and that either one of them, or possibly both of them, may have been having an affair. When police looked into Missy's social media accounts, they determined that she had actually received a message on LinkedIn from someone that she didn't know. Missy showed the message to a friend and told her that it made her uncomfortable, and she thought that it was a little creepy. However, the friend could not remember the person who sent the message. I'm unsure if they did anything with that information. Police also discovered flirtatious messages with an unidentified person who police state is a person of interest. Police also conducted a cell tower data dump to determine if Missy was in contact with her killer and if they may have checked her social media accounts to see if she'd be at church that morning. As far as I know, they haven't released any information regarding the cell tower data dump. Okay guys, that's it for the solid evidence that this case has, as far as what's been released anyway. Police obviously have much more information than what they're going to release to the public. Because it is still an ongoing and open investigation, they're always going to withhold information just to ensure they'll be able to make an arrest and a conviction. Life tip: always hold a piece of information back. I'm gonna get into theories, and there are a lot of them. I just want to remind everyone, please be respectful in the comments. I understand that everyone has a theory and an opinion, but these are people's real lives. Making false accusations or assuming that you know more about the investigation than the police do really could hurt someone's reputation. Not only that, Missy has very young daughters that could potentially see this video and or hurtful comments made online, and I will not tolerate that on my channel. Let's get into theory number one. Because of the possibility of the affairs and a lot of financial strain, a lot of people believe that the Bevers' marriage was in trouble. There's a lot of speculation online that Brandon either killed Missy himself or possibly had someone do it for him. However, he was out of town at the time of the murders, so I don't think it's likely that he did it himself. Some people find it suspect that he was out of town. They just find it to be a weird coincidence. And like I've said in other videos, I don't believe in coincidences. However, I do find this theory to be the least likely. Police have completely cleared him as a suspect. I'm sure that they dug into their financial records and they have scoured through social media and phone records. If there was something even slightly off, I think they would be questioning him much further. I think it would be difficult for him to hire someone to kill his wife without the police seeing payments to a person. Not saying it's impossible, but I just find this to be a little off. I just don't believe that. He has been nothing but cooperative with police and has said that he's glad that they've investigated him because he wants them to investigate everything. In interviews, he's basically said, "I have nothing to hide. Investigate me, please." In the interviews that I've watched, Brandon seems like a very genuine guy to me, and I think he's trying to do what's best for his daughters. I saw in some of the comments, people were saying that he was cold towards his dead wife and things like that. They just found the behavior to be very off-putting. I don't think that he was detached from his wife. I think in the first interview that he gave, he was still in shock. Not only that, I'm sure it would have been hard to have your dirty laundry aired out like that. So his wife just died, brutally murdered, and then he's finding out that she may have been having an affair, meanwhile trying to console his daughters, who just lost their mother tragically. I think he was just doing the best he could. And we have to remember, guys, not everyone grieves the same way, and we can't judge someone by the way they grieve. Let me get into theory 1 and a half. Online investigators went even further and suggested that Brandon convinced his father, Randy Bevers, to assault Missy. People started to believe this because Randy has a very distinctive walk that people believe to be similar to the person in this video. Randy, of course, denies this. And he also has an alibi. He was actually out of state as well at the time of Missy's murder. Not everyone buys this though. I have to say, guys, his walk is very similar. Also, the week after Missy was killed, Randy dropped off a white women's 2XL shirt at the dry cleaners. It was blood soaked, and it was apparent that it had already been washed to try to get the blood stains out. The dry cleaners were suspicious of this and immediately notified police. He told them that the blood on his shirt was from a dogfight. Police did collect the shirt as evidence and were able to conduct a DNA analysis. It was determined that the blood was not human blood. However, this put Randy Bevers on people's radar. Again, with the walk, and he did an interview regarding the bloody shirt, and to me, his behavior is very odd. He obviously seems very defensive, which I guess is normal if people think you murdered your daughter-in-law. However, he just had this smirk on his face, almost like he was about to laugh, and he also took the media for a joke. See for yourself.
Minor thing, the dry cleaner had your shirt listed as a woman's double XL shirt. Just a mistake. That's your shirt. The dry cleaner listed your shirt with the bloodstains on it as a woman's.
Well, my wife's white shirt had bloodstains on it too. So both of us had bloodstains on her shirt and mine. So because it,
So there are 2 shirts of blood on it.
Yeah.
The warrant only listed one.
The warrant only listed one. Where's the other shirt?
The dry cleaners.
So the dry cleaner calls and says there's blood on.
I don't know what I don't know the conversation between the cleaners and the police station. Okay, I don't know that conversation.
But you're saying there's blood on 2 shirts.
There's 2 shirts that's got blood on. Okay.
And then, Randy, even though it's brought you this attention, would you say that you're glad that they're looking so closely
You better
at all
believe
of
it.
this?
You better believe it. You better believe it. If they weren't, they wouldn't be doing their job. Okay, so by them doing this, it tells me that they're being diligent and doing their job on any tiny little whatever comes across is being looked at, and it should be. So that's great.
Do you have a photo of that Chihuahua? I know I keep a lot of photos of my dogs.
No, my wife would have, but I don't have one. But but it's just little.
That was
black and white.
That dog was her. That dog was a very precious animal to her.
Yeah, it
I
was.
mean, very.
What's his or her name?
Huh? Kilo.
Kilo?
Kilo.
Can you get your wife to email us a picture of the dog?
Well, we'll see.
It's
Very odd behavior. But I have to point something out here. If Randy Bevers was involved, why the would he take a shirt to the dry cleaners that was blood-soaked a week after his daughter-in-law's murder? Obviously, that's going to make him look suspicious. If he had something to hide, why would he purposely put himself on police's radar? That doesn't add up to me. I think his behavior is very bizarre, but what motive would he have? Why would he want his daughter-in-law dead? In regards to the interview, I know that some people do laugh or giggle when they're nervous. Police also ruled out Randy as a suspect, so I'm not fully convinced of this theory. Although I'm not convinced that this theory isn't correct either. That brings us to theory number dos. Some people believe that Missy's murder was unplanned. They believe that the suspect was there to either vandalize or steal from the church. People think that this person broke in, started causing damage to the church, at which time Missy arrived and surprised them. Again, I think this is not a likely theory, because if you watch the surveillance video, the perp was very half-assed in vandalizing the church. They were not enthusiastic about the damage. It didn't appear to be fun to them. Don't most vandals do it for the thrill? They were almost kind of lazy about the whole thing. Like I said before, it looked like they were just staging a scene. Of course, this could be possible, but I think this is not a likely scenario. And that brings us to theory number 3. Just kidding, 3. Another common theory is that murder was the reason for the perpetrator to break into the church. But the question is, who were they there to murder? I've seen it said that they could have been waiting there for someone specifically, or possibly that they wanted to just kill someone, period. That's a very likely scenario. Could it have been something bigger? Was someone trying to make a statement? Was someone targeting Christians? Or maybe that church specifically? And Missy happened to be the first person they encountered? We just don't know. Not without more evidence. Theory number 4. Number four is that the perp was there to murder Missy. A lot of people believe that she was targeted. I think this could be a likely theory as well. Police received several tips from the public regarding one man in particular. And that brings us to 4.5. This man's name is Bobby Wayne Henry. So he fit the build of the person on the video. He was a former police officer and, get this, a former tactical officer. In addition to that, he had a very strange walk. Very, very similar to the person on the video. Not only that, he also attended the same church as the Bevers. To make it even more strange, on the morning of Missy's murder, witnesses said they saw a dark SUV pulling out of the parking lot of the church around 4:30 a.m. Bobby Wayne Henry owned a very similar SUV, a black Chevy Equinox. To make things even more strange, this man was hired as a security guard for Missy's funeral. A news station was there, and they were just filming people going into the funeral, which I find a little weird, but luckily they were. They noticed Bobby Wayne Henry pacing back and forth in the parking lot. And what did they do? They filmed him. He did have a very similar walk, to the point that even the news station noticed. They were actually zooming in on him, specifically on his legs and feet. It's almost as if they saw him and thought, this guy is the guy. I believe that they actually turned that footage into the police. Police brought him in for questioning, and he had a really weird alibi. Bobby said that he woke up at 3 a.m. while his wife was getting ready for work. He said that during this time he fed their baby, and he was home the whole time. However, I don't find that to be a solid alibi. It's very likely that your wife could be lying for you, and 3 a.m. is an odd time to be getting ready for work. Not only that, but why do you know that you specifically woke up at 3 a.m.? He wasn't questioned immediately. I have a child, and I know that as a new parent, your memory is foggy, and when you're waking up in the middle of the night, no one's looking at the clock and saying, oh, it's 3 a.m., this is when I woke up. Remember this. I just find that to be odd. Maybe it's just me. Police have made statements that they actually placed undercover surveillance on several persons of interest. They then brought in a forensic podiatrist who had over 24 years of experience. They watched through all of the video surveillance, and the only person they were not able to rule out was Bobby Wayne Henry. Coincidence? I think not. To make matters worse, Bobby Wayne Henry had a very bad past with women. Allegedly, he pulled a gun on 2 women while working as a police officer. And because he was a former cop, he actually had a helmet with a light on it. He also had the same style SWAT clothing, though he said that was not his. He claims that he could not fit into it anymore. Court documents have revealed that a gun was found at the scene. Is it possible that Bobby pulled a gun on Missy as well? To make matters even worse, and paint Bobby Wayne Henry in an even better light, he has since been arrested for child pornography. This guy is clearly a predator. When I began digging into this case, I really couldn't understand what his motive could be. I kind of assumed that the child pornography charge basically equated to child molester. What would he want with Missy? However, the more I dug into it and read information about him, the more likely that it seemed he was guilty. He worked and attended at the church that Missy and her family attended. He was then later hired to be a security guard for her funeral. Obviously, the Bevers family and Bobby crossed paths. I don't know how well they knew each other, but is it possible that Bobby became infatuated with Missy? Is it possible that he made a move and she turned him down? I'm sure that would have pissed him off, and clearly he has a violent past with women. That's why I believe it's highly likely that his wife lied for him. Is she hiding things out of fear? Was Bobby trying to get revenge for Missy turning him down? Or were they involved? I don't think that's likely, by the way. According to his mugshot, Bobby is 6'1". However, Brandon Bevers was told that the suspect was a 6-foot tall man, which has been revised several times since then. They have said that it's give or take a couple inches. Bobby Wayne Henry hunches his back over. He walks with a unique walk. He has all of the gear that he would need. There's so many coincidences when it comes to Bobby Wayne Henry. And what do I always say? I don't believe in coincidences. Everything points back to him except for a motive, which, like I said, he strikes me as the type of person that would just lash out anytime someone tells him no. How was it that he was hired for her funeral? Obviously, the Bevers were pretty trusting of him. The last theory, which kind of plays into this theory as well, is that someone who was jealous of Missy could have done this. Whether that be a jealous spouse of someone Missy was involved with, or that someone Brandon Bevers was involved with. I think that could be a possibility as well. Police did make a statement that the perpetrator could be a woman. My theory is so many of these theories. I just don't know with this one. However, I tend to lean toward Bobby Wayne Henry. I find this guy to be especially creepy, and he's so close to the case, and people called in tips about him so many times that it's hard not to think he had something to do with it. We all know what happens when you tell a privileged white man no. I think it's possible that Missy hurt his pride, and because of that, he lashed out. He's very clearly a violent man, but police have cleared him as a suspect, at least as far as we know, because they always hold things back. What do you guys think happened to Missy? Do you think it was someone random? Somebody that she surprised? Bobby Wayne Henry? Or somebody else that was close to her? Was she targeted? Or just in the wrong place at the wrong time? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Alright, you guys, that's it for me today. Please make sure you subscribe, and remember the name, Kasey Shane. I'm out.